their entire business model. What happens if Donald Trump loses? I mean, obviously the country would be in very bad shape. But what happens to Kimmel, Fallon, Colbert, Stewart? Donald Trump is all they have right now. He's all they talk about.
You know, there's some who are all completely sold out to one way of doing television, and they had to get rid of some people, and it's still not quite right.
Yeah, buried in the Jeff Bezos saga with the Washington Post, they lost $77 million last year. Nobody's reading the Post. Nobody's subscribing, print or digital. We're profitable during the Trump years. When he left office, they traded. Late night is now down 60% in ad revenue since Trump's first term. And they're holding on to this idea that Trump's the devil, that he's Hitler, that he's fascist. They poke fun at him every single night. The jokes aren't very funny, unfortunately. I think everybody knows that. I'm fine with jokes, no matter who they're at, as long as they're funny. They're not funny, and Trump is on record saying that if he doesn't win, that he's not going to run in 2028. So what happens to these shows? They're not going to make fun of Harris. That's obvious. It's going to be a while until we know anything about who the GOP cast is for 28. So while we know they don't want Donald Trump to win, I think these shows would be in steep trouble if not, because their entire show right now is hate on Donald Trump, try to make fun of Donald Trump, and it's working fine. The viewership is not great. It's the lowest it's ever been, but it's at least something. But if you lose to Trump, you become the Washington Post. You become irrelevant.
So can we just, you know, we were on the radio. We just have to get all the way down really quick. They hate him. Like, they love hating him. They're on television crying about it today. I saw Mika Brzezinski. It was earlier this afternoon. And I was talking to my producer, Chris, and I was saying she's on TV crying. Like, it was a video cut that I saw. Obviously, I didn't see it live. She was on The View crying about the fact that Trump is going to put people like her in jail as political opponents. That he didn't jail anybody his first term. So all that tells me is that she it's her heir, it's her Roman Empire having this ability to cry for Donald Trump possibly imprisoning her when he's going to be fighting to seal up the border and deport criminals and, you know, end the war in Ukraine. He's not going to be thinking about Mika Brzezinski.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you're right. They hate him, but they don't hate it on Donald Trump. The one that stands out to me is that dorky Jim Acosta guy. He has a weekday show on CNN 5 days a week. It's because of the way he covered Donald Trump when he was the White House reporter, whatever his title was. So many of these people only have platforms because of the way they cover Donald Trump. Now look, I'm very hopeful that Donald Trump wins next week, and these people have to look in the mirror and realize all their tactics didn't work, all their jokes didn't, their smears, the propaganda, everything that they've done to him. I hope they have to face the consequences as far as their reputations and their credibility. But yeah, they don't seem to be realizing if Trump goes away, just as far as not being in the spotlight as much, they dim in the future for a lot of these programs.
And you also, so he shows it. It's not that, it's that I can't believe there's never anybody who sits up in a meeting and says, so we're doing 55 minutes of We Hate Trump in the day. And then the next meeting comes in, the next show meeting, and they're like, this is the 2-hour show, we're doing, you know, an hour 40 minutes without the commercials of We Hate Trump. We will announce that there was a, you know, Boris had beef recall, but other than that, we're only
Hey, JC.
talking about Trump and how he's Hitler. Nobody ever
You're on the road
says,
too?
man, I sure am tired of talking about Trump. Look at all these other news stories.
Texas to Indiana, huh?
I find that so
Oh, for funeral condolences.
Yeah, and I noticed that a lot at Out TV. One of the things that I really appreciate about Out TV is that we do cover a high volume of different topics. I could imagine just writing about the same thing every single day, which is what a lot of people do. They just write about Donald Trump, and I understand right now it's the election, so that's common, but these people remember Donald Trump announced that he was running for re-election. He, or no longer that, it was 2015, I believe,
He has no problem getting media to put their right.
Traverse City.
Right.
Traverse City. I mean, it's just insane. Nobody that I know could put up with that. But I've been thinking about that question a lot. Why do they think that? I mean, it's obviously deeper than just the Republican nominee. I think the answer is because he speaks and empowers the people that they don't want to have a voice, which a lot of times is the average person. Democrats, the media, Hollywood, the music industry. Trump is not every man, but he appeals and caters to every man and every woman, or every man and every woman. As far as ordinary Americans, not the elite, not the ruling class. That's a really powerful message that I hope, whether he becomes president or whatever, I hope that message continues the MAGA movement, because it does run deeper than Donald Trump. It's about putting America first. It's about fighting back against the system, the establishment. Donald Trump is the most interesting person in my lifetime, and probably most people listening right now. I think what he was able to do as an outsider is such a great achievement, and I'm so hopeful that it continues to because I voted for him twice. I'm going to vote for him again next Tuesday, but I think it's so much more important that he gets in office this time, and even the last two elections, because of what's at stake. And I can't stress enough what's on the line this Tuesday.
Yeah, I agree. I've now voted for him 3 times, and I couldn't be happier to pull a lever for him. And if possible to vote for him again, probably would. This is his last go round, obviously. And we did have a nice sized bench as Republicans, as the GOP, individuals who want to run, want to be a part of the future party. They're going to be great.
Go do the speed limit,
also,
dude.
You're writing about Jeff Bezos' refusal to publish an endorsement of Harris. I actually, I will just tell you, Bobby, I was so surprised to hear her on Charlamagne's Breakfast Club, kind of whining like a baby that Donald Trump got with his Billionaires Club and stopped her from getting her newspaper endorsement. I couldn't believe she said it. I honestly, and I know I'm supposed to be ready for anything, and I know she's not supposed to be able to shock me at this point, but honestly, because she's always talking about how tough she is. And she sat there and whined like a little 4-year-old who got their lollipops snatched.
The entitlement that she has, and so many people on the left just they expect these newspapers to endorse them, to cater to them. It's just the ultimate indictment of entitlement, which a lot of times ultimately is the downfall of people when they expect things that they don't deserve or that they didn't earn. A very fascinating story, because the reaction to this is just, I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Like, I understand historically it was, but it isn't really going to have much impact on the election. Again, Post doesn't have any readers anymore, whatever. But like Brian Stelter, I mean, this guy lost his mind. By the way, what a pathetic stooge he's become. I actually before previously defended him. Like, all right, he works for CNN, he has different opinions, and he's doing his job. But I see what he's saying now. He is Rachel Maddow on steroids. He is so scared of Donald Trump. He hates him so much, and he is almost melting down on air that the Post and USA Today and LA Times didn't endorse his candidate, Kamala Harris. I just have lost all respect for him. Yeah, Harris too, just expecting this, whining about it. Yeah, and get over it, right? Like, I don't even, the Bezos, as far as I know, there is nothing about him that is pro-Trump. I know people are trying to one of those businesses.
Thank you. He does not like him. This is not about Bezos getting a phone call from Trump and going, sure, bro, billionaire to billionaire. Nothing about the two of these guys is, they have nothing. They don't have any crossover between them. But I think if people really want to understand, and I understand they don't, but for regular people and our listeners here, I really have to encourage you, and I read it on the air here, but if you missed that program, that was, I think, today is Wednesday, I think it was Monday, but it might have been Tuesday, I shared Jeff Bezos's op-ed where he explains why he didn't do the endorsement. I was expecting a whole lot of liberal nonsense. Trump's an exercise of democracy, but we can't allow our paper to get sucked into his cortex and blah, blah, blah. Instead, I decide not to endorse next.
Right.
I'm going to go on to my next thing, right? I'm sure he's busy. He runs Amazon and Blue Origin. And he has that girlfriend who flies a helicopter. I think he's a busy guy. But he decided to share. And his reasons were simple.
Yeah, I give him credit. I mean, even though he's a billionaire is some of the most cowardly people in the world, I thought he was going to cave. I really did when I saw the protest. I thought he was going to come out and say, I'm sorry, we endorsed Kamala. So I give him credit. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Bezos thinks that Donald Trump is going to win. I hope he's right. And two, I think ego's at play too. The Post, when he bought it, was in a much better state. It had power. It had influence. It lost $77 million last year. The paper's a joke. It's far worse than the New York Times. I don't care much for the Times either anymore. But the Post had really become the MSNBC of journalism. This is a paper that probably has, up until the Trump year, had the best record when it comes to accurate reporting. It was a very, they did a good job. Even though they always had some liberal slant to it, they were accurate. They weren't. This was a Russia hoax. They reported a lot of information that was wrong. People didn't trust them anymore, and they certainly don't trust them now. You had that tech reporter, Taylor Lorenz, he just carried
Embarrassment.
Yeah, and remember that fashion reporter that you and I talked about? She complained about Donald Trump's tie.
That was the same paper. I keep forgetting that was the same one. Wow.
Yeah, I think some of his ego. He's just like, hey, I bought this thing. It is a joke. It is pathetic. So I hope he turns it around. I don't know if he'll be able to, because we saw CNN to try to bring things a little bit more towards the middle, the Brad, the Ben, the Val, and do all this. But maybe he'll pull an Elon Musk and clean house.
guys have your IDs with you?
I didn't know. I got my ticket. Right on it was. That's got my name on it.
Mike, wait till you see where this officer's car is blocking the middle of the sidewalk. So a guy who is really obstructing the sidewalk.
So if you want to come into the building and speak with the supervisor, you're more than welcome to. You can do so on the third floor in the office, but there's no recording once you step up past this door.
Okay, so he informed you and educated you on what I'm allowed to do here?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You have a nice day.
You too. All right, ma'am. So I'm gonna. Ma'am, I'm gonna hang out for a little bit, and then I'm gonna get out of here. I'm glad that the supervisor was able to clarify things for us. Thank you. Hey, sorry. Mind if I ask you a question?
Absolutely. What's up?
So did the probation officer call? Okay.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. There are fewer than 3 weeks before the U.S. general election. Trump said he wants legal immigration. He was also pressed about the violent attack on Capitol Hill by Trump supporters
every morning,
January 6th.
get up, listen to these news briefings. We go to NPR, Fox News, BBC News, Reuters, and that account links together the main networks. Maybe listen to some music, try and get my head in the right space. Some comedy. There's someone inspiring I'm looking for. Set up an audiobook. Warm up my vocal cords if I need to.
We're ready to put the victory plan on your table and economy. Europe supports Ukraine is ready for diplomacy, but for it, we must be.
And when I get to the office, I have 2 more briefings that I read. One is compiled from Brodigan, my longest standing employee.
When you get to the hour age, are you always doing like the 4 spots and like shoulder twist?
Odd cat, strange, but a hell of a good cook. And as I do that, I kind of do that at the same time as going from a show nap and also checking any trends for other news. Honestly, I don't know. The process is get up and work.
I'm literally just doing this. Go 4, 3, 2, and by the end of it, the pain is gone. Like, it completely alleviates the pain temporarily, like, for a good hour or 2.
When I got here, we were running everything with Steven's personal Gmail. It was literally run out of his garage. This whole studio here it's the same exact studio, just in his garage. So just a little perspective, yeah, it was all just it was shoestring put together, and we had to turn it into a business.
So Steven and I got connected through a mutual friend. I was also kind of, one of the earlier videos that Steven did with the blue bed sheets. I was Aisha. I played his kind of,
not Muhammad's wife.
Muhammad had many wives. Not Muhammad! Who just shut up! You don't know the both of me!
And we just became kind of friends, and it grew and grew, and finally becoming more of a fixture on the show was supposed to be just like a few week thing. And that was, you know, in January of 2017. So we've been here a little while.
Oh, I know.
Well, I've been doing comedy almost 10 years now, and I was up in the Seattle area, and just been doing comedy there for, I think it was like 8 years, 9 years before I met Steven. I'd known who he was, mostly from The Change My Mind. Then I worked with him, and I was like, wow, this guy's hilarious. Let me check this out. And then I look back, and I find out that he's like one of the pioneers of comedy on YouTube.
I didn't realize how big Steven was, like, before YouTube demonetized him. But to have a fan base like he does on a regular basis, I mean, I got my own little following, you know, but that was when I was on Comedy Central a lot and had specials, and but nothing, you know, nothing like this.
So I've been a fan of the show for years. I've been following Steven for a while, and I always wondered what it would be like. It always seemed like a fun place to work, and actually it really is. It's everything I thought it would be.
Well, I had done Steven's show years ago, and then I got a call from Steven or Darren or whatever, and they said, we want your show on the network, blah. It's a real romantic story. I've seen the show, thought it was great, obviously, and I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. I like Breitbart's quote that Steven has hanging up that says something about I like defending my point and have fun doing it.
Does the tone in this office pair well with the seriousness of the work we do, the comedic tone? It absolutely does. All the work is serious. The way we joke about it and ridicule it, it just adds this layer to the message that we're trying to put out, that I think is what makes the show unique and really the best show in this sphere.
I started on the show about 2 years ago. Started as a editor, shooting sketches. I work on the Daily Show, running that, and over pre-production and production.
A typical day at Louder with Crowder.
I get in at about 4:30, make the coffee.
Well, I come in pretty grumpy.
What I do for the show ranges depending on the day. It can be writing some of the show content, it can be certain production elements, it can be doing interviews, on the ground stuff. It just kind of depends. We're a smaller company, and so everyone's kind of, I would say, very well versed across the board, and my position is no different. But I think probably the most integral part will be producing and kind of crafting the daily show.
By about 5:30, I'm looking at the show map and the stories that we're going to put in and write for Steven.
Coming in and writing the sketches with Johnny Boy and Steven.
I check to see what's going on. I try to see what is the workload's looking like, what you guys see how stressed out you are, so I'll know kind of what I'm walking into. I know it's early for PTS.
So I had been with ESPN for just shy of a decade, and I'd been listening to the show on a regular basis. So put my feelers out, and I happened to see that there was a recruitment post on LinkedIn, and I went for it, and here I am. I'm wearing glasses that help them not burn out. 6 of them.
We do a quick talk over for 15-20 minutes about the topics, and then from about 6 to 8 we're to the grindstone. We're in a document laying out the levels to the story, certain statistics, undergirding research, communicating with Steven or Gerald on certain changes they might want.
And we have to start figuring out, okay, what can we keep in, what can we cut?
And yeah, we basically just go through, we try and start at the top of the map and work our way down, so that obviously what hits first is first out the door.
I take a lot of pride in making sure that whatever we get out is actually useful for people. I think that's the biggest key takeaway from everything that we do. We do a lot of comedy, which is fantastic. I think that's kind of the backbone of what we do. But we give people information in a way that's useful.
And we have a little less than an hour to finish up any jokes we want to add to the show, and kind of get together in a little huddle and go over a few ideas.
I mean, the show, and I couldn't believe the production quality. I was blown away when I got here.
The volume of work and the quality of work that we put out here is just insane. It's unmatched.
There's immense amounts of talent, very high performing. I always want to say athletes, because it reminds me of playing sports where you really have to depend on people to do things in crunch time in a live situation. And again, like I mentioned production. That's not something you find in other jobs.
Even Steven says, like, this place is the NFL of production. This is where the best people come, and hopefully we get the best people, even if they don't seem like it, like they turn into the best people of production.
Yeah, Matt has helped make this an amazing team. We can work together in a way that we have with others before. I think it really makes for a superior product.
This is something that's different than what you're going to find out in the marketplace. It is truly a combination of late night and kind of politics, almost stand-up comedy in some ways, and then professional wrestling to a degree with skits and kind of themes and all that stuff. It's this whole amalgam.
Okay, let's go. This doesn't feel like a day job to me half the time. Because I'm a comedian and I get to go do comedy.
Good morning. Got a little BTS action.
Hey, a little BTS, little morning BTS.
Yeah, so just want to welcome to the crossing.
Show.
It doesn't really feel like work. You walk in, everybody's kind of positive and optimistic about things. We're cracking jokes with each other. One of the 47.
We all know the boring way. Come on!
HR stand, doing HR things. It takes a very special mindset to work here. The level of difficulty and stress, if it's not making you stronger, it's going to kill you.
My brain might be the loudest person I've ever met in my life.
You can find me what the housing surplus or shortage in the 1960s.
There are times when he's very passionate about something that I'm not. And so sometimes those can be contentious back and forth, but I know where his heart is. I know what he's trying to accomplish, and I agree with that. And so it doesn't bother me at all. Lane stole my pen again. Neither one of these is my pen. Neither one of these. Again, every single time.
Yeah. Noodles of the flesh.
What's up?
BTS.
What are you doing?
Well, we're cutting some clips here, okay? And this is what it looks like. Into the computer, have to format them correctly according to this. Spin them back up.
The clips are in the computer.
They're inside the computer.
Yeah, the crew's great, man. I'm amazed. Every day when I come in here, I ask for a Photoshop or something, and it comes out not what I was picturing, but so much better.
Her yearbook message is also pretty cringy. We're not the only ones who think so.
Wait, he said this bitch. It also said favorite activity, sex.
Probable destination. Hilarious. That's cool, right?
It is cool, dude.
She definitely went to Google, typed in gay font. Could add a little more blurb, possibly, but you'll see this online.
When we come in here to the studio to do run through, and that's when Steven will have a large number of his changes, which usually leads to, I want to call it chaotic 30 to 45 minutes.
What time is it? It's run through time. It's run through time. Yes, sir.
Let's get ready to run. Do it now. Come in, run through. Get in here. Do it. What are you doing? Get to the run through.
You gotta be silly.
About 8 o'clock, we're doing the run through for the show, and between 8 and 9 a.m. is when the last minute comments come in.
Then prep the machine, pull in the assets you guys have built. Then we do run through, and that's kind of when you learn what the show's really about.
This is where we're really getting a synthesis with the production people.
This type of energy requires
Whoa.
a rise.
Let's go.
Perfect to show that footage first and then show this guy.
When they were told to go home, and then people came back to count, that is unrelated to the hype.
The amount and the quality that we are able to put out consistently, it's absurd. How we doing today?
Still pulling plenty of stuff in the mats. It can be an intense room in the mornings, but I like that. I think I thrive in that environment.
So it's very high stress, but it's super rewarding because you get to see the fruits of your labor in real time. There's not many jobs that you can do that.
A lot of times in run through, we're more or less prepped for the show, and then Steven, being the creative that he is, starts riffing off of a lot of the stories that he sees in the net. Like, hey, maybe we should have had a Photoshop here.
He's trying to plug this. Yeah, it's an HGTV show.
What's our record for assets added in run through?
21, I believe 20.
It is an intense environment. Like originally, we were hoping to stop it.
How do you steal an election? We're allowed to talk about it on YouTube right now. We'll go through the 5 steps that can, and at least at some point have taken place. And Monk Club has an exclusive today, some undercover footage. If you're going to be mad, it'll be fun. Maybe mad.
All right, everybody, 1 minute till countdown. How we doing out there?
By the time 10 after 9's rolling around and the countdown clock is going, that's when we're getting still last minute changes. Sometimes even after the show started, we're getting changes in.
It's such an intensity to the room. When we're prepping for a show, when we're going into a show, even during a show, that it just makes the room electric.
I like the pressure. I like the hustle and bustle. It's fun. It's exciting.
It's really nothing like I expected. More difficult, but more rewarding.
Run throughs sometimes more fun than the show, but I mean that's when everyone's loosening up and getting all this stuff that you can't see on air out.
Oh, that boy double Windsor, dude. I hope you're still tying the line. The morning show news media is intense. Comedy is intense because you're trying to capture something and do it. You're trying to do something great.
Hey, we're getting ready for a lunch.
When everyone ends, hopefully we have more than 20 minutes. And it's game time. There we go. All right. There's not another place like this. Really isn't.
Damn, I'm a Texan. Helping to write skits and researching stories for Steven Crowder. That's kind of insane. I never imagined it, but I'm so glad it turned out that way.
Love this place. Love the work I get to do.
Live shows are my favorite part. Performing, slinging jokes, laughing. That's me.
It's been nothing but entertaining.
It's not just a job. What we do here is, I think, more important than the job. I feel like I'm all in at this point.
Our audience, they choose to give us some of their income that they work their asses off for. So just the utmost gratitude for the Monk Club members.
Okay. And action. My name is Commander. I was a leader.
So sketches, a lot more goes into them than it might seem. It's way more involved than I thought it would be.
There's not another place in the industry where you can just change your role or say, hey, I want to try mixing the show today, or I want to run audio, or you get to contribute, you get to be on cam.
Like a horse game. Right here.
It all just right. That's right.
that have damaged voters' confidence in our elections. In 2022, your office sent out mailers to 30,000 non-citizens inviting them to register to vote. They, of course, are not eligible to register to vote. That same year, your office used Colorado's ballot tracking system to send messages to specific Coloradans encouraging them to vote when, in fact, they had already voted, causing confusion that had to be cleaned up by the county clerks. And now this leak of the voting system passwords. Given your office's repeated errors that have damaged confidence in our elections, which you say is paramount, will you resign?
Absolutely not, Kyle. And I just want to, you're unfairly characterizing and leaving out some information. We came out immediately and said a postcard had been sent out to people who were ineligible. The postcard clearly stated that someone had to be a U.S. citizen. No one tried to register from that group of people. We were actively tracking it. And it became a situation where no one registered. And to push back even further, Kyle, Colorado is tied for #1 in confidence in the country in our elections.
According to who?
We have stood up to situations time and time again to protect the right of Coloradans, going over and beyond.
No, you didn't, Jenna. You tried to throw people off the ballot so that they could not vote. And I just got so agitated with her, I lost where we were in the video. But I am so happy to watch her just squirm in front of this guy because she tried to throw Trump off the ballot. Let's not have her sit here and lecture us. She's enabling Coloradans to participate in democracy. No, you're not. You tried to disqualify the choice of a huge portion of Colorado people. And now she's going to sit here and say she's doing an amazing job. So let's see where we are.
We are taking it very seriously, investigating, going into the field to make sure, in an abundance of caution, that everything is okay. But I think it's really important not to conflate scenarios bigger than what they are.
Well, we'll just clarify this then. Given the number of fundamental errors that your office has made that have undermined voter confidence in elections, why do you think they keep happening?
Because I'm incompetent. Just say it.
Why do errors happen? Kyle, there are unfortunately situations that arise every election that we are fixing as quickly as possible in the counties and once in a while from my office too. The civil servants in my office have largely been here through various administrations since Scott Gessler, Wayne Williams. They're trusted civil servants. They do an excellent job. The job and demand of running elections is ever evolving. It's getting harder and harder.
All right, so we'll fast forward. Let's see if he has any other questions. Would you have disclosed this
type of environment?
You've chosen not to tell the county clerks about this password leak. Were you going to tell the public about it if the Colorado Republican Party didn't go public with it today?
So again, I am going to push back on your gotcha premise. We did not decide not to disclose something to county clerks. We were actively investigating along with federal partners. We want to try to take as measured of approaches to situations as possible and gather good information. So along those lines, we are still in an active investigation. Our course remains as it was. It's to gather information, go into the counties, fix any issue that needs to be fixed out of an abundance of caution.
Did you intend to tell the public if it wasn't revealed?
We were still in investigation, working with federal partners, and have not made that decision. Again, this is not a serious threat to our elections. There is no security breach. There is no evidence of any type of equipment being compromised. We are trying to take a measured approach with everything that is happening both in the state of Colorado and across the country.
Secretary Griswold, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow, amazing. So, shout out to Kyle over from Channel 9, Next 9 News. Amazing. Delivering a hard series of questions to Jenna Griswold, who deserves every single one of them because apparently she's incompetent and she's demanded other people get prosecuted and other people get charged and has lectured many Americans about safe and secure elections and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, her government, her secretary's office is leaking spreadsheets with access to the BIOS systems. And then they're going to be deploying people all across the field to go in, fiddle around with these machines in the middle of an election, change passwords, do Lord knows what, and then come back and say with a straight face that everything is safe and secure. Meanwhile, we've got in Mesa County there voters who were having their ballots intercepted and voted for them, as her office confirmed previously. So we'll keep our eye on it. Very fun to see Jenna finally get some hard questions from somebody who's not buying her shtick. Shout out to Kyle from 9 News. We'll keep our eye on it and see what's happening in Colorado. All right, so let's turn our attention now to what's happening in Michigan, because Michigan is just as wild. We've got a whole situation happening here as well, including with Dominion. So here's the report. The Michigan Department of State, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, seen here, is now being asked about the Dominion voting systems and about how there is a voter programming situation that cannot be fixed this election. In fact, it will be corrected for future elections. And here's how it works. So it involves this voter assist terminal. It's a device that helps voters with disabilities and others may use to assist them in marking their ballot. And apparently it's limited to this machine. It prints the ballot and then puts it through the tabulator. Now, the Bureau of Elections in Michigan has identified an issue in the way that the Dominion programmed the ICX VATs for the general election. So Dominion programmed the systems wrong. Voters in counties using a Dominion VAT to mark their ballot will have to select either the quote straight party option if they wish to vote straight party, or vote for each race on the partisan section of the ballot if they wish to split their ticket. Now, while this is the process used in some other states, it is not the standard in Michigan, where voters have the option to vote straight party, but then override their party selection for individual races. So it sounds like it's just like, you know, when you fill out a form on the internet and you have to click certain boxes, like you try to do it and it doesn't work. If a voter using a Dominion VAT system votes straight party, but then splits their ticket, so they click, yeah, straight party, all Republicans, but then split their ticket, they're going to get an error message. The voter's then going to go back, deselect the straight party selection, then vote for candidates individually or vote straight party without actually splitting the ticket. Now, it's not possible to fix the programming for the VATs this close to the election, although this issue will not stop people from voting or making their preferred selections, and although it will not change anyone votes, it will make the process more inconvenient for some voters using the system. The Bureau of Elections is providing education materials to address this. The issue will be corrected in future elections, and so the list of counties using these systems are everywhere. And apparently this is kind of what it looks like. So it may only be impacting a small number of voters on this system, but our concerns, of course, with these errors are, is it limited to this? We always have questions about, well, if this is wrong, if you couldn't program the machines correctly for this, how thorough was your accuracy, your logic accuracy testing, and your validation of the software, in other words, as well? So we've got questions about it. Now, Jocelyn Benson got asked about this. She held a press briefing today, and here's what that sounded like.
People to vote early. Long lines the first day of early voting, which I saw personally every single early voting site I went to. In Anna, Pontiac, in Flint, were really almost celebratory lines. There were people who were so excited to cast their ballot.
Great.
We'll see if the line. I mean, yes, we saw 145,000 people participated on Saturday. 105,000 citizens voted on Sunday. So we may see a dip throughout the week. We may see an uptick again next weekend. So we'll see data count and or access terminals.
Okay, so here's a question about Dominion.
Yes.
Okay, question. What's going on with the Dominion VATs? Why has that only been caught in the last few days, and why can't that be fixed right now?
Yeah, this is a nationwide issue with Dominion voter access terminals in the counties that use them. The voter access terminals, of course, not all the machines, just the ones that are accessible, have an issue with the straight party voting and a programming issue that's, again, affected the machines nationwide. And I think all of us that use Dominion machines were were unhappy to learn about this during the testing period and as early voting began. So we're working with Dominion to seek accountability on that front, and also are working with our clerks to ensure voters are aware of this programming issue that will require them to ensure they are voting every section on the ballot. Because we have straight party, it's not struck me as I've talked to my other colleagues in other states. They're just as upset about it as we are. So yeah, or surprised. Yeah. Okay.
Online question.
Hi, Kyle. No.
Just true. Okay, thank you. All right, so she takes questions from the media. The big clip that is catching a lot of attention is the one I just shared with you. She's now revealing to us that there are Dominion problems. They have it on their website that there is a programming problem, only for that limited system, allegedly, right now. And we have to take their word for it that everything else is good. But nothing else is being reported from them. And the media seemingly just had one question on that, but apparently it's a national problem. Now, this fella, his name is Matthew S. DePerno. He's over on X at MDEPerno. And he posted this today, very interesting one that caught Laura Trump's attention over at the RNC. She responded saying they're looking into this. But here is what he shared with us. He says, after reviewing the qualified voter file from Jocelyn Benson's Michigan on October 29th, the database identifies 279,000 ballots. What? 114,000 Michigan voters have cast 279,000 ballots. That means that there are 164,000 excess ballots as of 10/29. Below is one voter ID that you can see. Okay, so he apparently is pulling the full files. And here's what he's identified. So you see this column says voter ID. All of these column numbers are the same. 159, 607, 018, all the way down the bottom. So that's presumably one voter ID. Think of it like a driver's license number. That identifies who you are. So here's one address that this voter registered for. And you might say, okay, well, you might have one voter ID with a history of addresses, but not all with lists getting ballots and having votes recorded. You see here, all in Detroit City, Wayne County, zip codes have changed, multiple different addresses, but it's all the same voter ID. That's not good. So he's just pulling public files, right, public data, and doing data analysis on it and looking into it. Then we have Rasmussen Reports also looking in on this. They say Michigan, one voter ID with 29 separate votes. Is this real? So they anonymize you. We don't know who this person is, but there is a voter ID. All the same. Just download the file, sort, look for multiple votes. Are there more than this? Probably. So Laura Trump came in, and James Blair from Trump's team, he's the political director of Trump 2024, said they reached out to this fellow. They're trying to figure this out. Says, our team is in touch with this guy. We're reviewing his observations and will take any action necessary after a thorough review. So they're on it. Laura Trump is as well. She says, our election integrity team received reports of thousands of duplicate ballots in Michigan. We immediately investigated and confirmed that it was a glitch in the system, and these duplicate ballots were not and will not be counted. Okay, so it's just like a reporting error. We immediately investigated, we're on it, and we're protecting the vote. All right, so don't panic is what she's telling us. But you can see people are identifying strange things in the numbers, and this is good. I think this is awesome. So shout out to DePerno for digging into it. Like, we all should be scrutinizing these items if we have these skill sets. If you see something, say something. And he force did. So they're looking into it. Now, similarly, we've also heard from Jocelyn Benson that there are not illegal people voting in American elections, especially in Michigan. In fact, remember when she said this back during a House committee hearing?
There's no evidence that non-citizens are voting. If they were, it would be easy to prove since voting records are public, and despite numerous organizations spending a lot of money to try to convince people that non-citizens are voting, none of these groups have actually been able to provide any evidence of it.
Save your time and just say I agree, sir.
Adrian Fontes from Arizona. He's the just a couple 100,000 people.
We found 135 this year that had voted. We found another 400 that were registered but hadn't yet voted.
Okay. So sorry, Jocelyn. He's right. You're wrong. Here's a story from the Detroit News. It says Chinese student is going to be facing criminal charges for voting in Michigan. Oh, you're kidding. From Ann Arbor, a University of Michigan student who is from China and not a citizen allegedly voted on Sunday and is being charged with 2 crimes. The filing of the charges was revealed Wednesday in a statement from the Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson's office. Like, God damn. The press release didn't identify the student, but described him only as a non-U.S. citizen. 19-year-old from China was legally present, but not a citizen, meaning he couldn't vote. He registered to vote on Sunday using his college ID and other documents he used to establish residency, and all of their systems didn't work. He signed a document identifying himself as a citizen. His ballot was entered into a tabulator, according to her office. The ballot was cast at an early voting system site. Later, the voter contacted the clerk, asking if he could get his ballot back. That's interesting. He contacted, so I wonder if they wouldn't have caught him if he didn't contact them. He's like, oh crap, it's illegal? So he contacts them, and then they bust him. The student's ballot is expected to count in the upcoming election, although it was illegally cast because there was no way for election officials to retrieve it once it's been put through the tabulator. The Chinese are interfering with Michigan's election. Jocelyn allowed it to happen. According to 2 sources familiar with Michigan election laws, his vote's going to count. The setup is meant to prevent ballots from being tracked back to an individual voter. We're grateful for the swift action of the clerk in this case, who took the appropriate steps and referred the case to law enforcement, okay? So that's exactly what happened. So this is crazy. I might have some sympathies for this guy. Like, what if this guy doesn't know? What if he went back and he's like, hey, oh my gosh, I just voted. He calls them. He's like, I just voted. I was listening to Jocelyn Benson, and I thought I understood the rules. We're suing people all over the place. He's like, I thought I could vote because I got a ballot. Then I went and I told somebody, yeah, I just voted for Trump. And they said, you voted for Trump. He went and told his friend, and they said, you can't do that. They said, you're a non-citizen. You can't vote. He goes, oh my gosh, really? They gave me a form and everything. I thought I could do it. He says, okay, let me go try to get that ballot back. I need to get that ballot back because I thought I could, but I can't. He calls them, hey, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. I think I voted for Trump in an upcoming election. Oh, you did? Well, now we're going to charge you with the crime because you voted for the wrong person. You should have voted for Kamala and we would have let you go. I can absolutely see this happening. And he really didn't know any better. And to be honest with you, how should he know any better? In fact, we just talked about this lawsuit yesterday in other states, like in, Virginia. The Supreme Court thankfully stepped in today and said that the people will not be counted in Virginia, thankfully. But they were going to put non-citizens back on the rolls. They were. The Court of Appeals put them back on. It was going to send them a note saying, sorry, we took you off. So how do the citizens know? Like, if one of those citizens, now the Supreme Court has executed the stay, so it's not going to happen, but if they mailed it back in because our useless government sent them a ballot and they filled it out and sent it back in, it's kind of entrapped by the government saying, yeah, go ahead, do it. So this guy then responds, and now they're going to charge him with the crime. They say, we're grateful for the swift action of the clerk in this case, We're also grateful to law enforcement for investigating this guy. Anyone who attempts to vote illegally faces significant consequences. Why'd you let him register and get a ballot? How come that happened? Including but not limited to arrest and prosecution. Benson, Jocelyn, and Save It are both Democrats. I would bet this person voted for Trump. Or said something like that. They busted him. The person is being charged with perjury, making a false statement on an affidavit, and being an unauthorized elector who attempted to vote. Allegation is a felony. A police detective gave a swear-to on law enforcement. As of Wednesday, the student had not been arraigned. The student's being represented by legal services from the university. In a message to the city council members obtained by Detroit, they said there's been an instance of potential voter fraud in Ann Arbor. Through a series of actions, the student was apparently able to register, was able to receive a ballot, and was able to cast a vote. And then only got caught, probably because he went and outed himself. Based upon the scenario that we're hearing this morning, this student was fully aware of what he was doing and that it was not legal. He then acknowledged in an email, the story might get picked up by national media, under a 2018 ballot proposal, people can register to vote on election day. Proof of residency is a driver's license or a utility bill. It's incredible that someone has to prove their citizenship to get on a plane, but not to register. Now that vote is going to count and it can't even be rescinded. That's a mismatch. It is. A vote should absolutely not count, obviously, even if it was for Trump. With 9 days of early in-person voting, if even the Chinese want Trump, they can't.